Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to this week's edition of Highly Disputed, the Lloyd and Liam NFL show. With us, as always, is Lloyd and Liam. Liam, fresh off of his 23:45 8,000 meter run. Liam, how was it running 5 miles on a track faster than most people can run 1 mile?
Well, I had Cal pacing me, and I knew I wanted to get out pretty hot. And Todd thought he could run the first mile with me, and that lasted about to the other end of the track. And then I saw him after the race. That was how it went for Todd. But the guys are fit right now. Got to pace it pretty evenly again. Thank you to Cal, and just excited for indoor season.
Hell yeah. And then don't worry, Seamus, we didn't leave you out. Seamus, our analyst, is back and ready to go. And if anyone didn't notice, Lloyd is finally not shaking on this edition. Lloyd, how's it feel to join the 21st century?
Pretty good. I mean, I kept the phone for the fans. That's what I thought that they wanted. But yeah. we're going steady this week, boys. Okay.
Now we can do it. Now we can do the phone for the OnlyFans. All
Yeah.
right. So let's open up as usual with
Next
a little
week.
with a little yeah little oh dear, we want Lloyd's phone as a fan cam from Lord Hopperton. Well, maybe Lloyd can make an OnlyFans and we can drop the link so that we can really double down on this
Can
investment.
someone explain to me? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tyler. Can someone explain to me what OnlyFans is? Because we were talking about this. We were talking about this. We were talking about this 8K earlier, and Liam brings up the Chris Brown song at a mile in. So I'm looking up Chris Brown's hits, and the first story that came up for Chris Brown was Chris Brown joins OnlyFans. And I was like, I thought that was a sports thing. So I have no idea.
OnlyFans.
I know it's a football podcast, but
We won't get too into it, but just imagine it's a place where you can have
Exchange
fans who subscribe for whatever content they want to see. Anything.
oh, I subscribe to Chris Brown for that.
And Lloyd, people are starting to wonder if you're in witness protection. That's how you don't know. Okay.
No, I just live at a hospital.
All right. So
I didn't know Joe Biden won the election for like 4 hours after it happened.
Well, depending on who you ask, he
Let's
may or
move
may
on,
not
sorry.
actually have won it. So we'll find out within the next 2 months. Okay.
Kanye conceded.
Okay, so let's do a quick little recap of our hot takes. I'll go first, and I was this close to being correct in that the Jets would beat the Patriots. But of course, Adam Gase remembered that the Jets are the Jets and led them victoriously into the wrong direction. Liam, how'd your hot take turn out?
I'm 1-2. I was watching the game and I'm like, come on, Dallas, make some magic happen. Unfortunately, just like Adam Gase, they remembered that they are the 2020 Cowboys and proceeded to stop playing defense for the fourth quarter. And they gave it a good shot. I would say that, if I could give myself partial credit, then I would, but my take was not correct. It was a little bold, hot take. That was a boiling hot take. If that came true, I mean, Dallas Cowboys beating an undefeated Steelers team, that was a long shot, but I thought I almost had it.
Lloyd, how'd yours turn out?
Well, I didn't watch the game, but since I didn't see anything on Twitter related to Khalil Mack strip sacking him, I'm going to assume that didn't happen. But I can't. I'll take control of the Instagram later, and I'll see if I can make it happen in Madden. Because I don't even think it's that. I don't even think I could do it in a video game.
just
We'll see.
Eternal truck stick.
I'll keep you guys posted.
All right. Seamus, want to update us on how yours went?
Yeah, Pat Mahomes got close to 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. I kind of threw it out there because that's the magic for fantasy. That's the magic 40-point game number for quarterbacks. But he got close. He threw for 372 and 4 touchdowns
on 22 minutes of possession.
Yeah, Carolina had a good game plan there to keep the ball away from Mahomes. Sort of, I guess, what the Bills probably tried to do in that game against Kansas City in the rain. Just don't, limit the number of possessions. But with a somewhat healthy McCaffrey and Mike Davis, they were pretty apt to at least make it a game. I mean, Joey Sly had the leg on the 65-yarder too to win the game. I mean, he shanked it, but someone's gonna make. Someone this year is making like a 65+ yard field goal. I watched a video of Justin Tucker off the tee hitting one from 70.
And we also watched live in that Bills game, watched Tyler Bass have the distance on a 61-yarder and miss it way right, even more so than Scott Norwood.
He was like 2 goalposts right. Like he was a full other field goal post right of the.
When Tyler Bass misses, he misses. He doesn't make you. He doesn't. He's not. There's no heartbreakers there. It's either this is gonna hit my house or this is good from 70.
Speaking of Tyler Bass, I figured we could start with probably what most people would consider the game of the week. Well, maybe not the game of the week, but at least most Bills fans would consider the game of the week. Lloyd, I see you shaking your head, so I'll put you on the hot seat first. That Bills-Seahawks game was definitely one that probably was unexpected to most general football fans. What is your general what's your general feeling after watching the Bills come out victorious against the Seahawks?
I'm gonna say this first of all. I'm glad that was the outcome. Can't say I'm like a huge Bills fan, but like I just don't find Russell Wilson that interesting of a dude. Like, I mean, he has his podcast. He's having his MVP caliber season. But I see Josh Allen out there just balling and outplaying the MVP. Like after his grandma passes, he probably had a garbage plate the night before. That's a guy I like to see do well. But Russell Wilson and his $1 million on his diet and working out and stuff like that. And he has a good podcast, but he's not a character, like Mark Ingram, that guy's character. He's got his catchphrase. I don't know. I was happy with the outcome. I don't think it was the game of the week, though. Game of the week for me was the Cardinals and Dolphins.
Yeah, I would agree. And we got Skater Dad back in here, our token Dolphins fan, who I'm sure would love for us to discuss that at some point, which we will. We'll get to that. But
it was a fraud.
Liam, what's the where's your head at now?
I think my main takeaway is that Josh Allen was accurate with the football down the field. He, his accuracy, he completed 80% of his passes, and these weren't check down easy throws. I mean, listen to these average yards that these guys were getting per catch. Stephon Diggs, 13 yards a carry. John Brown, 12. Gabriel Davis, 17. Cole Beasley, 13. Isaiah McKenzie, 25. This is their average receiving. So he is accurate with the ball down the field on a bad secondary. I'll give you that. But I think it's an absolute middle finger to all the haters who are saying that was his biggest flaw. Accuracy down the field, big-time game. That was exactly what he did, and it's why they won.
No, and I think the cool thing, the really cool thing with that one is just how he's most accurate on the throw that is probably the most difficult to make in the NFL, which is like the 15 to 25 yard throws. Just every time it is just threading the needle. And Skater Dad would also like to remind you, Liam, that your head is a prime haircut with great lighting.
Thank you. I invested in the webcam. I invested in the haircut. I'm all in on this podcast and my interviewing skills.
It's almost hockey season. Dude looks like straight a healthy scratch over there. He's ready to go.
I've just been slowly stealing Justin Van Epps' style for the past 2 years.
And as soon as he gets back on here, we're gonna have a little
bit
of duality.
We'll do it side by side.
Kind of like a more looks a little bit like a Mormon version of Justin. I get multiple wives over there or something going on. I don't know.
All right. Seamus.
Well,
give it to us straight. What should people think of the Bills and the Seahawks after that game?
I think if you're thinking about the Bills, it's that they can compete with everybody when Josh Allen is competent. I'm not saying they can beat everybody, but I think if Josh Allen is if that's say a 9 out of 10 game for Josh, if you get a 6 out of 10 or better from Josh with the Bills defense playing okay, I think they can compete with everybody. I think Seattle, on the other hand, you see sort of what ultimately is the limitations for a team on offense where it feels like every time they have the ball, it has to be a touchdown. And I think you saw that a lot, especially in the second half with Russ, where it turned into, I have to score. I have to make a play because otherwise we're giving up 7 the other way.
I mean, yeah, it was kind of an eye-opener on both ends.
I think this Seattle team reminds me a lot of that Chiefs team from the Mahomes MVP season 2 years ago, where the defense just hemorrhages points, but Mahomes and Wilson are going to play so efficient that they're always going to be in these games, and it lulls sort of people into this false sense of security in picking them, where you're like, or believing in them as a team because you're like, they're going to win, but I don't know.
Well,
I think more not having Carson killed him. You can't control the clock. You get in these shootouts like that Mahomes season. It just comes down to who has the ball last.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, they got beaten pretty bad by the Bills, but
yeah, I mean,
look at that Cardinals game, and I don't know.
We have an interesting counterpoint here, in that maybe Josh Allen's passes were not necessarily accurate, but more on target. He would give them the opportunity to catch, to gain yards after the catch, but he didn't necessarily hit them perfectly in stride, essentially saying that he's giving it more to the receivers. What do you guys think?
Are we isn't that accurate if it's on target? I hate to be that guy.
Well, I would say that, rookie and sophomore year Josh Allen, there were a lot of ones where they were like, well, he's zipping it into these guys. It's bouncing off their pads. He's not, he's giving them the good pass, but it's too hard or all this stuff. Now he's kind of floating it in there. And obviously, if the ball is in the air for twice as long when he's floating it, the receiver is going to be able to catch it easily, but the cornerback or safety is going to get over to him faster. So in my opinion, I think he's just trying to get the yards. He's going for those air yards, and he doesn't really worry about after the catch. Plus, I don't think any of our receivers really known for after the catch. I mean, other than maybe Diggs. Like, I've never known Cole Beasley to be that guy who catch it and then go run 50 yards.
What is it about the media? I feel like of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, they are so hard on him. It's like the Ross Rachel equivalent of it's like, will they, won't they? Can he start for the Bills? Do they need to draft somebody? Can he play every week? Like, the dude's going to be your quarterback for the next 10 years. Like, he can play with the best of them in the NFL. I think that's pretty clear.
Well, draft analysts don't want to admit that they were wrong. Like, they said, oh, he's all attributes but not talent, and the fact that it's like
he was drafted sixth, and that wasn't a surprise. Like, he's always been good.
I got a stat to maybe dispute that Josh Allen is missing or isn't on the money. His expected completion percentage this year, so in other words, if we're taking into account his the air yards plus as tight a window he's throwing into, is 66.1%. That's better than quarterbacks such as Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow. He is in
all 30 quarterbacks.
What about Mahomes?
People who are better with expected completion percentage than Josh this year, who have started multiple games, are Breeze, Mahomes, Roethlisberger, and Goff.
Yeah.
Boom, you get the shout out, Seamus.
I don't give actual answers. That's not what I come on this show to do.
No.
Well,
That's not my.
and funny enough, Lloyd, as soon as you started talking, we got the nice presidential debate not answering the question. but we're just.
I don't
roasted.
answer questions.
Yeah, we answered. It's just not the answer you wanted.
It's pretty comparable.
You just didn't ask Lloyd the right question. He's gonna give you an answer, but it's like Jeopardy. You kind of got to go the opposite way.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's when we have Justin here on for the actual like answer week.
So
I'm here to just bring this thing down.
Let's start moving. So I was thinking, we'd pick one game this week, and then the rest of this little cast we're doing, maybe we just pick some topics and get some little storylines and see like your guys' reactions to it. So Lloyd, I'll start with you. There's a lot of discussion about Lamar Jackson essentially taking a major step back compared to last year, and I know a lot of people. You can say as much as you want that it's because last season was a one-of-a-kind season. It never been seen before, but now you're getting reports of Lamar saying that people are calling out plays as soon as he goes under center. Is Lamar slumping, or is it just the evolution of the NFL defense, or neither?
Something's going on in that locker room. If you make those comments that they're calling at your plays, and you're calling your own coach kind of predictable, that's not good. I haven't listened to the local radio and what they're saying about Lamar recently. But, I mean, if there is a week for him to bounce back, it's this one. I mean, they got the Patriots, and the Patriots didn't show anything last week that makes me think that they can stop Lamar Jackson. The guy who they could hardly stop Joe Flacco, who was backing him up a year or 2 years ago.
Seamus, what do you think about is Lamar slumping?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, so this year he has had the third best pocket of any starting quarterback, averaging almost 3 seconds for time to throw. But meanwhile, his intended air yards is about 6 yards of completion. But one thing, going back to what Lloyd said about the play calling issue, Lamar is actually averaging almost 9 yards per pass attempt on first down pass attempts this year. And that's from Sharp Analytics. But Lamar is based on second and third down is only averaging 4.7 yards a throw. So it seems like, again, going back to, the comments he's making, it seems like the coaching staff is for a coaching staff that defined itself last year as this very analytics, very forward-thinking group, is directly shirking their analytics by not throwing more on first down and then getting themselves in second and third and shorts where Lamar's ability to run the ball is accentuated, and it accentuates those throwing out of heavy packages. But there's no doubt right now that he is slumping, but it may not necessarily be a product of just his physical abilities as much as the game script and play calling.
He's only 22.
Let's
not forget that.
Liam,
22.
Should the Ravens
come out of the draft this year?
Should the Ravens be worried, or is it more just like it's not really a worry, just need to slightly readjust?
I think they should be worried because I want to walk back something I said last week. I said that the Ravens had a harder schedule this year than they did last year, and I actually looked it up, and I was like about as wrong as I possibly could have been. They actually have the easiest schedule of anyone in the National Football League based on the 2019 records of the teams that they face. The teams that they face are averaging .438. So they're facing losing record teams. Now, obviously, there's teams like Pittsburgh Steelers who went from 8-8 to 8-0. So obviously, there's changes like that. But yeah, I think they should be concerned. I don't know if you saw the Rich Eisen show where Lamar Jackson was talking about how teams' defenses are calling their plays, predicting their plays from the line of scrimmage. That's pretty bad. That's kind of red sirens should be going off. If you as a coach or a quarterback or a team hear that, you need to immediately draw up some plays that no one's seen before because that's bad.
I'm pretty sure we got this question a few weeks ago, but we'll revisit it. Mike Vick's stardom with the Falcons was relatively short-lived. I mean, mind you,
this question is invalid because Mike Vick went to prison for 3 years, and he came back from prison and was in the playoffs.
22 years old.
Yeah,
He
definitely.
also
Michael Vick was never an MVP either.
no, he wasn't. And Mike
Lamar
Vick
was
also,
MVP his second year in the NFL. Lamar is a better player already.
yeah, also like Mike Vick, even when he was like the Eagles quarterback, was like not bad.
Yeah.
Like he was pretty good. They went 11-5. He won a playoff game. I don't know.
And don't forget
The
about
big-
that one
the big
game that he
knock-
had four passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns.
The big knock on Michael Vick, besides obviously having the largest dogfighting ring and all of that stuff in the country, watch the documentary. It's crazy. But besides that was his work ethic and, being in shape. And say what you want about Lamar, and progressing as a player. But, there's no indication that he's not a hard worker or handles the media well or is going to get in any type of trouble whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a tough time keeping all those weapons together. I mean, as soon as they have to actually pay Lamar, they've got so many Pro Bowl guys on that team, and they got to pay Tucker. They got to pay that offensive line, Ronnie Stanley. They got all these young wide receivers. Those tight ends, I mean, they're not going to come cheap after a while. They're going to either go somewhere else or they're going to have to pay them.
I think cap-wise, I think that they're going to end up the money comes off on the defensive side when guys like Calais Campbell. They have Judon right now, who I will bet any amount of money will be a free agent, and Baltimore, they just don't have the money to re-sign him. But
I think they're going to win now. They're in a win.
I agree. I think their window is really like this year and maybe next year, and then they're going to have to do some recalibrating because after that, Lamar, all those teams, Lamar, Josh, so the Bills, the Ravens, the Browns, the Jets, not the Cardinals because they cut Josh Rosen, but those 4 teams, all their quarterbacks are 5th-year extension eligible at the end of this year. You're gonna have to like Liam said, you're gonna have to start making choices.
Yeah.
So I think to answer the question, I don't think we have enough of a sample size to really say. I mean, Lamar's other
We
than
do. He was already an MVP.
I'm saying the question was like, do you see is essentially like, is his career going to be like a similar trajectory to Michael Vick? And it's like, I don't.
But it's already better.
Yeah.
It's like he's already better than Michael Vick ever was in
And
his
you
whole
watch
career.
Mike Vick's 3 year, like the 3 years of Mike Vick's arguable like physical prime as a rushing quarterback. You missed his 27-year-old, 28-year-old, and 29-year-old seasons because he was in prison.
So
It wasn't even like when Michael Vick left the Falcons, they got better. I mean, like Matt Ryan came in. I don't know. I don't think it's like that. I think the Lamar Vick comparison is only made because Vick was the first guy to really like do it at such a high level, and he had the video games, and everybody remembers who he is. But they're different players.
Love that version. Him and Dante Culpepper.
All right. So
give me that Dante Culpepper, Madden cover.
So, the Chicago Bears, they were, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, and now they are 5-4.
Oh, Nick.
Got let us know in the chat what you think that could be from. But Seamus, Nagy's got to be on the hot seat, right?
Well, I think it's funny because I think that whole division, except for Matt LaFleur, is the hot seat guys. Patricia, Zimmer, and Nagy. But out of those 3 right now, I probably pick Nagy most likely to get fired because I don't think Nick Foles is that bad. So, the passing number, I'm going to talk about the advanced numbers. So again, if we go back to an idea like expected completion percentage based on the window he's throwing to, time in the pocket and stuff, Foles has had one of the worst pockets in the league this year. He actually has the second worst, only behind Roethlisberger. He's only averaging about 2.1 seconds per pocket before it starts to collapse. But he has an expected completion percentage up in the high 60s. He's right around Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes and those guys, which is telling me basically he's getting the ball out into tight windows with no offensive line. And it's like, you haven't had an offensive line all season, and yet you're designing an offense that's continually putting Nick Foles in these bad situations. And I think that falls squarely on the shoulder of Matt Nagy. And I've heard from listening to Cole Wright this week, who used to cover the Chicago Bears, now more of a national guy, has been pointing out that they think something is going to change with the Bears this week, whether it be that Nagy is handing off the play calling duties to his quarterbacks coach, John DeFilippo, or play calling is going to become more collaborative. But something's going to have to change there. And I think Matt Nagy, if things don't turn around, is definitely looking at getting fired.
Lloyd, if you are in the Bears position, you were leading your division, and now you are almost 500. Where do you go from here? Like, where do you think, like, what do you change? How do you get your team back on track?
I think it's a combination of things why they are where they are. I don't think they were ever that good. I think they had some easier games early on. I think they played the Giants early. They played someone else that wasn't very good. They did get that Bucs game, but look at the Bucs this week. Like, I don't know how good of a win the Bucs getting a win over the Bucs is anymore. But I just think that the message he sent early on, where he said, like, we're gonna go with like who's better, and like we're gonna stick with that guy, and then he switches quarterbacks, and I don't know. I think like that not working out, and regardless of who you're playing, it's still the NFL. If they don't make the playoffs, he'll probably get fired, rightfully so.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate for Bears fans, but like, Liam, if you are Matt Nagy, and you are probably assuming that there is some degree of pressure on, like, what is your answer right now if you're in their position?
I don't know if it means much from an actual football side of it, but I think that they just straight up cut Mitch Trubisky. I don't care if it's a cap hit. I don't care what else. I think that's just a stain on their franchise. The fact that they traded up, passed on Deshaun Watson. They passed on Patrick Mahomes. Now they're watching these guys sling it. They've got him sitting behind Nick Foles, who didn't even stick around with the Jags. It's like, this guy is a stain on your organization. And the only way to keep your job around here is to make even crazier moves than they were expecting you to make. Like, they got to – I don't care what the winning record is. I don't know who this person is. I don't care. Get rid of him. If he's sitting on the bench, if he's so good, then why is he sitting on the bench? That's what I want to know.
They didn't have a winning record because of Trubisky. They had a winning record because of their defense. They were winning those games like 17-13, and like that's how they almost beat the Eagles in the playoffs that year. It came down to a field goal that they missed. Like, do not tell me that was because Mitch Trubisky is a winner.
And don't tell me he's better than the guys. They passed up on Watson and Mahomes. Like, what are you going to say? He's better than them? I mean, it was a bad call by the GM. I mean, you can't argue with that. They traded up for him.
He didn't even play a whole season at UNC. It wasn't like that UNC team went like 11-0. Like, they lost some bad games too.
Also, the teams that
they can't cut him because they drafted him so high. That'll cause like that, unless they want to clean house with everybody. If they're getting rid of Nagy, they can do that. But like, when you draft somebody that high, you have to keep him.
Also, the two teams that they beat, that Trubisky played the whole game and they beat, were the Lions and Giants. And they only won those, like Lloyd said, they only won those games 27-23 and 17-13. And then they had to bring in Foles against the Falcons to bring them back from 20 points down.
He's a bad
Foles won a Super Bowl.
Also, the only teams they've only lost to teams with winning records. Like, you can crap on them, but their losses are the Colts, to the Rams, to the Saints in overtime and the Titans. Like,
The
I don't
Saints
know.
team, I think, is better than we were thinking they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Mitch Trubisky would have done that in overtime. I don't think it. Like, go back, look at some of those games, and watch some of the passes and decision making that you had. Like, you had to bench him. You had to.
Allen Robinson was going to throw his helmet at him a couple times.
There are times where there are guys wide open downfield, like wide open. You got to make the big pass, and he's just taking these check downs where the guy is like tightly covered. Like, and Nick Foles, say what you want about him, he's the 50-50 guy. He's going to take the shot every time. It might be an interception, but he's at least going to – and I think that's why they went with him.
And yeah, you can't take away the fact that he put up 40 points on the Patriots defense, kind of getting thrown into there.
And I mean, he also just gets rid of the ball faster, like from a throwing motion standpoint. I think that was big too.
All right. If you got anything else to say, throw it in the chat. All right.
Get rid of Mitch Trubisky. I agree with Liam.
All right. So next, I know I kind of did this before with the Bengals, but at some point you've got to feel bad for the Chargers. Like, dating back to last year, they must have double-digit games where they were in position to win and they just throw it away. Like,
It's 8 games.
8 games.
I heard someone else bring this up. They've lost 8 games over the last 2 years where they have lost or failed to convert on the final drive of a game.
Can I ask you guys a question I heard that I thought was interesting this week?
All right.
On the same subject, you can go back and redo this draft from the past year. Which quarterback are you taking first, second, and third?
This year?
Herbert, Tua, and Burrow.
I think I'm going the same way so far. I think I'd go about the same way. I mean, I think Burrow's been fine. I haven't seen anything wrong with him. I think they all just got drafted to different stage teams. I mean, the Chargers are kind of already set pretty well. The Bengals are not, and the Dolphins have Flores. I mean, they've got probably one of the best coaches in the league, just by the numbers recently. So I'd pick them the same way. I don't know how everybody else thinks, but how does Meg weigh into this? That's what I want to know.
I agree, Liam. I think a lot of the success that you've seen early on from Burrow, Herbert, and Tua, like you said, it is a product of they're all in situations where they understood what the expectations were for them, and that the system around them complements what they do best. Burrow is sort of that, throws a lot of those, I'll sit here and I'll take 50 hits, but I'm going to put the ball in between T. Higgins 8 and his 1 on his jersey. Herbert is, give me a little bit of time. I got this beautiful flick of the wrist motion, and this ball is going to look pretty going 70 yards. And Tua, I've seen, I'd say really one game of Tua playing, but against the Cardinals, he looked poised, composed. He did what they asked him to do, which is really, for a team like Miami, where I think they're further along in the process of building a winner that you are with your quarterback, a young quarterback at this point. You're like, don't throw 4 picks. Don't kill me. Don't lose the game. And he's obviously capable of more than that, but they're all doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, he's
if
like Wilson.
If I had to pick one for ceiling, I think Herbert's still got the highest ceiling of the 3 because he is more physically gifted than the other 2, whether it be because Tua, I have questions about his durability, and Burrow, I have questions about his peak arm strength. But Herbert's my I just see Hobbs crawling around. I can't help. Oh, that's awesome. But no, I think Herbert's the ceiling guy, but I like all 3 in their situation.
If you had to start a new franchise, Burrows, Tua, or Herbert?
That's the same question.
But I guess imagine
I pick Herbert. I like the 6'5" gazelle.
Jordan Love.
I was gonna say the Packers went with Jordan Love.
Jordan Love. I want to see
Give me
Jalen Hurts play. I want to see Jalen Hurts.
Give me the flying
play.
Hawaiian. Give me Tutty Tua.
But for real though, for real, why have the Eagles not at least given tried to take Wentz out? Like they have.
Have you seen the plays they've tried to run with Jalen Hurts? The dude fumbles the ball so much, and then the dummy
does
packages. He looks like Taysom Hill. You know he's gonna run the ball.
Well, then,
Taysom Hill until
actually have him
week.
throw
Okay,
it. Don't turn him into another Taysom Hill.
They pay Carson Wentz $120 million. You got to start
Bite
Carson.
that bullet. You have.
That's why Jalen Hurts
games.
is not playing. But what I will say too about Carson Wentz's contract is it's structured very much the same way the Garoppolo deal is, where the money goes down every year. Where in like a year, if Wentz is bad, that you pulling the escape rope isn't as financially costly as it is to say like pull out of the Kirk Cousins deal if you're Minnesota.
I think that's how Todd's
as good and bad as Wentz has been. Have they ever not made the playoffs with him starting? I mean, granted, Foles played some of those games, but I don't think they've ever not made the playoffs.
They have made the playoffs the last 3 years. You're right. I mean, they won the Super Bowl.
We're going to do it again this year.
Yeah, but now they're going to make it as a 5-10-1 team.
I don't know. Give that football team a chance.
Unless Ben gets healthy and the nooch is loose.
I got a hot take for you here. If they are, so they're going to be the 4 seed no matter what. Right now, I would say the Bucks are probably cruising for that 5 seed. I guarantee you Carson Wentz is going to have the ball with under 2 minutes left in that game at Lincoln Financial Field with a chance to win the game, and he's going to choke.
Or Philly. Imagine Tom Brady loses twice to the Philly.
Oof. That would be.
The NFC East is Tom Brady's kryptonite. That's what the conclusion is.
I still think nothing was better than the Giants almost beating Brady again. That would have been just such poetic irony. Okay.
It beat the ghost of Tom Coughlin.
Okay.
What are we doing our goons?
We're on our last segment before we get to our goons.
Sweet.
All right. So, the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Ravens, the football team, the Bills, the Bengals, the Colts, and the Browns. This is the second half of the Pittsburgh Steelers' schedule. Where do they get their first loss? Seamus, I'll ask you first.
Sunday.
Oh, you're calling against the Bengals.
Burrow can put up points. The reason I would pick against Pittsburgh this week is just because I think the number of guys on their COVID list is getting kind of big.
And if Roethlisberger's not there and you got Mason Rudolph.
Mason, I got caught saying a racial slur, Rudolph.
Got my head bashed in Rudolph.
Give me that Devin Duck Hodgins, though.
Duck Hodgins.
He's not on the active roster. Their third stringer is Josh Dobbs.
I like Josh Dobbs. I like that guy.
Josh Dobbs is cool at Tennessee. He can throw it. He's like
a rocket scientist. Do you know that?
He's an aerospace engineer.
Yeah, he works for NASA.
Lloyd.
And also the third string quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Lloyd, who you got beating the Steelers this year, or do they go 16-0?
I think the Ravens can take them. I don't think Lamar will play that bad again. I mean, that's really they lost by 3 points. I think that can be very easily fixed.
So you're calling them making it to 10-0.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're the Steelers are shaky, but they keep winning. It's hard for me to really bet against them against any of those teams. But I think the 6-2 team has the best chance.
What about the 7-2 team?
Who are they? Who are they playing at 7-2?
The Buffalo Bills.
That's
Will they
right.
play the Bills?
On
They
this
play the
week.
Bills? I think
Not
the
not
Bills.
not this week. They play them in week 14. Yeah,
I think they dropped the game to the Ravens, and I think they dropped the game to the Bills. But I'd say the Bills are more likely to beat them because I think where the Steelers are the best is pass rushing, and I don't think I think Josh Allen's deep ball is a little better than Lamar's. So
yeah. I think everyone in this world would agree to that. Liam, where do you have them?
not really a hot take there.
I agree with Lloyd. I think probably the Bills. If the Bills play the way they did last Sunday against the Seahawks, I think they got a really good chance. If they play the way they played against the Titans or Chiefs, I think they have no chance. That's the way I see it. I mean, probably the Ravens, if not the Bills, but I also see it as a reasonable possibility this team goes 16-0. Like, they have some pretty good wins on the schedule, and their defense is crazy. Like, they've got like 3 of the top 5 guys in tackles for loss right now in the NFL. I mean, that's just absurd. That's like Saxonville on steroids.
Yeah.
These guys are getting into the backfield, and what do you do after that? Like, if you got 3 guys coming at you, you can't get out of that. Lamar can run away from 1 guy, but not 3.
Yeah.
And they got the best Subway commercial.
So I think
Come here every day.
if you're a Pittsburgh fan, I agree with Liam that I think especially if they get past that Ravens game on Thanksgiving, I really think they do have a real shot at 16-0. The one red flag for them on defense, not talking about on offense, because I think on offense, I think all 4 of us agree that there's always the Big Ben, I'm gonna schmuck it up and throw 3 dumb picks game coming at some point. But on defense, it's that their corners are not good. I like their safeties. I like Minkah Fitzpatrick and Co. in the middle there. But I think their corners are bad. And I think if a team comes up with some type of way to compensate for that pass rush with Bud Dupree, TJ Watt, all those, like Liam said, that crazy hitting defensive front 7, I think those corners are really beatable. I think even Dallas kind of sort of showed some ways of doing it with a 4th-string quarterback where
with a quarterback whose name doesn't even sound real. Like,
it sounds like the Madden name generator.
Actually on his birth certificate.
But like there were some pieces there where you saw when Gilbert had like more than 2.5 seconds that those receivers got separation, because it's not like he was throwing into tight windows a lot there. I mean, CeeDee Lamb was open on a lot of those plays. Amari Cooper was open.
And of course,
what's the quarterback's name? What is it? Gilbert?
Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert.
2008, built Ford Tough, high school Texas football player of the year. If you're wondering.
Where did he go to college? Like, where did they find him?
Texas, right? Texas. He's like one of the great college quarterback busts of all time, actually.
Speaking,
did he play in college? Did he start at Texas?
You remember the 2008 national title game? It's Alabama with
I don't remember the 2008 title.
It's the one where Colt McCoy gets hurt in the first quarter, and a freshman Garrett Gilbert comes in and gets absolutely murdered by Nick Saban, and it's like hentai how hard he gets hit sometimes.
What thrift store did Mike Tomlin walk into and find that guy? He's been around that long.
So he's been on like a bunch of teams' practice squads.
All right.
Like, he's like ripped in practice squads, but he was.
Did he get half off Cooper Rush if he bought Garrett Gilbert? How did that work?
During this whole thing, we did like a reminder as we're talking about 16-0. We were asked by Skater Dead if anyone ever did go 17-0, and I think there was one team in particular that did do that. And I know he's been.
I have a better question for.
Yeah, it's 18-0.
You're talking about the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Do you both skateboard and are you a dad?
Skater Dad being called out.
What is the significance of that of that handle.
It's because that song Skater Boy.
We discuss that. Discuss that, guys.
I got to adjust.
And just for that comment, we're now losing advertisers.
I think it was Shane's hentai comment that lost our funds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bro.
shit, Fresh is going to cut us?
Well, you should see some of the stuff that's on like anime YouTube. You'd be surprised.
I'd really rather not. Okay.
When did
That's it. I am
when does
taking
Seamus-
control. I am taking control.
When does Seamus talk about Freshly?
All right. And I think that's a good segue to our new segment where we give our heroes and our goons of the week. You know, anyone who's good, we'll give them some fanfare, for being our heroes. And then to those goons, we're going to give them our little sad trombones, make them feel very bad about themselves. So, Liam, I guess we'll start with you. We'll
Do I give both my hero and my goon?
give like your hero and a little bit of an explanation so that we can actually use our sound effects here.
All right, my hero is for Taysom Hill. I think he's my hero this week. The Saints absolutely made the Bucs look silly on primetime football. Always love watching them get made fools of. Threw for 50 yards, rushed for 50 yards, received for 25 yards. I mean, when you've got a guy who can do that, you're putting yourself in a good chance to win a game because when you're going up against one of the top defenses in the league, you have to get creative. You have to throw them stuff they've never seen before, and that's what Sean Payton and Taysom Hill love doing. They love messing with teams, especially Tom Brady's Bucs. They probably saved all these fun plays to just make them feel bad. I love it. He's my hero.
All right. Seamus, who's your hero of the week?
Yeah, so my hero of the week is going to be a little out of left field maybe. It's Terry McLaurin for the Washington professional football team. This year specifically overall, he is basically catching more balls that are considered low catch rate probability, like the low catch rate probability balls of anybody in the league. And he's been doing that with, I think he's had 4 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball, and he's caught a touchdown from all 4. But last week against the New York Giants, he actually caught he had 115 yards, but I want to get the exact number of catches here for him.
They also named him captain this week.
Yeah, he is the team's captain. So he had 7 catches on 8 targets last week, with only one of those receptions being considered a higher than 50% catch rate ball.
So you would consider those not being on target.
Yeah.
Oh, Skater Dad right after him.
Basically, he is doing the best
Whoa!
balls of any receiver in the league this year. And I think his game against the Giants last week really highlighted that ability to be great. All
right. Lloyd, who do you have as your hero of the week?
You know who my hero of the week is.
Gotta tell me.
It's Skater Dad. One time, both parent and ride your skateboard in one day. Like my job was stuff. No, my hero of the week. I'll take the low hanging fruit. I'll take the New Orleans Saints defense. Anytime I get to see Tom Brady throw his helmet, that's a good night for me. So keep doing your thing, Saints defense.
All right, and I will round us out by saying that my hero of the week is, I'm gonna no big surprise, but no, not even AJ Klein, baby. The backup middle linebacker. Backup middle linebacker who had 5 tackles, 1 for loss, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. After weeks of everyone saying, cut him, he is awful. He rose up to the occasion. I love it. He's still awful, but as Bills fans, we're the ones who are like, cut him. He's my hero. I never doubted him. So
you're too old.
So I have AJ Klein as my hero of the week. Liam, we'll come back to you. Give us the fun part where we, really dig into people. Give us your goon of the week.
My goon, I will say, as I stare into Brian Crimmon's soul, because he's the only person that watches this regularly, it's Tom Brady. Going into a Sunday night thriller against the other all-time leading touchdown passer and throwing no touchdown passes, 3 picks, and letting the other guy just sail past you. I think with 6 rings, everybody's kind of just assumed that he's probably going to end up being the GOAT. Like, that's kind of what everybody's thinking. But it's leaves such a terrible taste in your mouth to say that guy's the GOAT and then watch him just go out there and make you think, oh, wait, like, and if you go over like all the Saints times that they've like been cheated out of the playoffs, like cheated out of a ring, all these terrible, calls and the, Minneapolis Miracle, it really makes you wonder. You're like, what if they switch those guys? Would Tom Brady be a GOAT or is he just a goon?
I like it.
You got
Goat is back on my side. Yeah. See, you know what? He also threw like 50% passer rating for Tom Brady. That sucks.
Seamus, give us a goon.
Yeah, so my goon is Doug Marrone, the coach still of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you know he was still the coach there? I literally thought they fired this guy. Like
years ago.
Yeah. I thought he got fired 2 years ago. But no, he's still chugging along here, trotting out just terrible football teams. Like, that team has, like, notoriously bad locker room chemistry. They're not good at defense. They're not good at offense. They're not good at special teams.
They're not good.
Okay, if like Doug Marrone had a calling card, like Mike Tomlin, like, defensive mind, great leader, locker room guy. Like, I've just never heard a single positive thing about anything Doug Marrone does anywhere.
Doug Marrone's calling card when he was the coach for the Bills was, we're on our opponent's 45-yard line. Let's punt.
Kyle Orton.
And the highlight was he could crush a whole 12 of Tim's jelly crawlers. He was sitting.
All right.
It's just like, at some point here, come on, Jacksonville. Like, let's try something different. Let's try something different here.
Hire Eric Bieniemy.
Somebody hire him. Jeez.
You get 2 third-round picks now. Do you see that?
Yeah.
You could hire Eric Bieniemy, who is arguably one of the best assistant coaches in the league, and get 2 third-round picks. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Seamus, you getting called out with all the knowledge you're dropping.
I literally just Google when these guys are talking. That's all I do.
All right, Lloyd, give us some goon for this week.
Can I give you guys the goon for just every week he plays? Because he, given the heinous acts charged against him, he probably should not be playing. If you want to find out more about that, you can Google it. But I'm going to go with Antonio Brown. Just every single time he is out on the field, that guy is the biggest goon possible. But then my one for just specifically this week is got to be Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco has to just be, besides like Eli, he's the Eli Manning of Baltimore. Just how hot and cold he is. They showed that stat during that playoff run. That was the only time in his career he went 4 games without throwing an interception. The rest of his career, he's been like 50-50. How do you ball that hard and then go to being like Sam Darnold's backup? And like they almost pulled it out, and he almost got that like one last moment, and he comes so close that he doesn't get it.
I'm going to round that off by essentially kind of beating or bouncing off Lloyd there. I'm going to take another low-hanging fruit, but specifically for one play. My goon of the week is going to be Adam Gase, every week. But this time specifically, I know it was in the first quarter. You have 4th and 2 on New England's 40-yard line. You are 0-8, and you punt it. Why, in God's name, would you punt it? Oh my God! Absolutely infuriating. I saw I followed this thing on Twitter. It's a cowardice index for punts, It was in the 99.99 percentile of cowardly punts. Like
I want that stat for like everything in sports or just in life. I want to where do I find this cowardice index?
I'll drop a link in the YouTube description. Okay. So, lastly, we get to the fun part. It's time for some hot takes. All right. So, this is a part of the show where we give the thing that is definitely not going to happen, but we try to defend awful takes and say that they are absolutely going to happen. So, Lloyd, we will start this week off with you. What is absolutely going to happen this week?
I'll stick with Lamar Jackson since he's finally going to get that game where he kind of looks like the MVP from last year. I'll say 100 yards rushing, 250 yards passing. Let's say he goes 18 for 22.
All right. Seamus, what you got?
Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers massacre the Miami Dolphins, and Justin Herbert looks way better than Tua because the Tua hype is unreal for like one game.
Tutties for Tua, get it trending, everybody. All right.
Hashtag Tutties for Tua.
Or Police Tutties, whatever you want to do.
Chargers by at least 10.
All right.
I'm going to say Tua and Talia combined for 10 touchdowns this weekend. My other hot take.
I owe our crowd some air horns. We forgot to give our air horns for our hot takes. And Seamus, Skater Dad would like to remind you to shut it on that Tua hype.
And for anybody who's forgotten, he both skateboards and is a dad.
Listen, if Tua balls out this week, I'll buy fully into the hype, but.
All right, Liam.
Fuck, we just lost. We definitely lost Freshly now.
All right, so for my bold, my hot take, I wanted to pick something fresh, and I love picking stuff related to the Buffalo Bills. It's so far I don't think anybody's gotten any of their picks right for the Bills. I think mine's going to be right. I think the Bills pick off Kyler Murray 3 or more times.
Ooh.
I'm going to say 3 or more picks. I think they found their stride last week. I think they got their confidence back as a secondary, and I think that they're really going to put some pressure on him. He's going to, be trying to make something happen. And this isn't including fumbles either, so not including fumbles. 3 or more picks. Make it happen.
How many yards do they hold him to?
Not part of my hot take.
Just curious.
And I'll round us off by saying I'm going to also pick from the Bills-Cardinals game, Liam. But I think this week, unfortunately, I'm going to disagree and think that this week is going to be a shootout. And, oh man. Boots does not have faith in the Bills. He thinks you need a COVID test for that tail.
That's the point of I picked the Cowboys last week. I picked the Cowboys to beat the undefeated team. These are supposed to be hot takes, not Patrick Mahomes throws for 450 yards. These are hot takes. I want spicy, burn your hand on the stove hot takes.
All right. I'm on it. Here we go. I pick. All right. This is going to be a shootout. I think that Kyler Murray and Josh Allen combine for over 900 total yards of offense and 8 touchdowns. That's
a hot take.
I think that they are going to.
You're pandering, though. You are pandering because Kyler Murray is his fantasy football quarterback.
No.
Let's not forget that.
I mean, absolutely. But I've also been the beneficiary of almost 400-yard weeks every single week. I bet the Bills' rushing defense is still absolute garbage. I think that they are going to be unable to contain Kyler. I think Josh is still going to throw like a madman. I think that they are going to, between them, like passing and rushing yards, they are going to combine for over 900 yards of offense and 8 touchdowns. I think it is going to be an absolute barn burner, and I am pumped.
I got another one to watch for.
He's playing Andrew this week.
What do you got?
I got another game to watch for too, and that's. Let's keep an eye on Tom Brady against Carolina in that 1:00 window. if he comes out and doesn't play so hot again and is throwing his helmet again and things start looking a little, Teddy Bridgewater's out there slinging it, looking comfortable. Well, let's get the alarm sounding just a little bit there in Tampa if Tom doesn't look so hot again.
All right.
Don't forget about
missing 9 starters.
And then I guess we'll have to recap next week what Juice's hot take winds up being. But all right, I think that gets through.
Minnesota can actually tie Chicago, or not tie. They can get within, what would it be?
1 game.
Half a game though, because Chicago hasn't had their bye yet. They can get within half a game of Chicago, and no team has ever been 0-3. And gone on to make the playoffs in the same season. And with this 7, maybe 8-team expanded format, Minnesota might be the first. With a win this week, I'd say they're looking prime with Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins to maybe squeak in a playoff spot here.
Let Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. All right. So I think that is about all we've got for today. Gentlemen, do we have any closing statements?
Are the Jets out of the playoffs yet?
Yeah, they're mathematically eliminated.
Nice.
Bad move. The weekend. That is just a weak halftime show. Do you think you're gonna top Shakira and Jennifer Lopez with the weekend?
But he's a motherfucking star boy, so that's okay.
I think
he has no hits that like people like beyond our age where they're gonna be like, oh yeah. I know that one.
I think it should be Kanye West. That's because I feel like he would kill it. Just be ridiculous. But who's got a lot of bops? Justin Bieber. All right, go back.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Like, that's
you could throw Usher in there. You could throw Usher in there too.
Yeah, I mean, he could do it with anybody. He's got songs with Nicki Minaj. He's got songs with a bunch of other
Sean
people.
Kingston.
Yeah, Sean Kingston.
Pepsi. Anyone from Pepsi, if you're watching this, you know Nicki Minaj. You get Nicki Minaj, Justin Bieber, and
you get Nicki Minaj.
Who actually should have been in the Super Bowl halftime show this year? It's the 20th anniversary of one of the big Outkast albums, and with the NFL screwing up so bad last year or 2 years ago, and not putting Atlanta as the forefront. Atlanta hip hop, the year it was in Atlanta. You could make up for it this year. It's the 20th anniversary of one of the 3 huge Outkast albums. Put Andre 3000 and Big Boy out there. They have listen, Hey Ya's in every commercial now.
I think they hate that song.
I got a cold take for this one, but I'd be down for some Logic. He could hit a lot of things there,
All right, before this
can't be a white rapper.
We can discuss Super Bowl week who we thought should have been the halftime show.
Listen, this is the topic for the week between the NFC AFC championship games and the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. From Liam, from Lloyd, from Seamus, I'm Coach Chev. This was Highly Disputed, the Lloyd and Liam NFL show, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining us, everybody.